Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Comment allez-vous? Comment ça va? Comment está? Ni hao. Assalamu alaikum. Habarayako. What's up, bro? And what is happening? Greetings. Well, the thing is, I did a discussion in my last, this is Musa, Matt Meacham Jr., signing in on Earth. As I was getting ready to say, I recall that I gave a discussion, my previous discussion dealt with outer space travel. I think I should make a comment about outer space travel because the reason why I want to do this is because I have written many books, ebooks, especially ebooks, that deals with outer space travel and aliens and stuff like that. I've written many books. In fact, it's almost half of the books that I've written have dealt with outer space travel, going into the future and stuff like that. But the irony of not being a storyteller, I'm a storyteller. I deal with my imagination, and what I'm actually, this is just a pre-message to my readers. Those guys who may decide to pick up my books, and you see that I talk a lot about outer space travel, things, future events, and stuff like that. But let me make a confession. I'm gonna make a confession. If you read my fiction that deals with outer space travel, I think I do a good job of talking about traveling, outer space travel. I think I do a good job on that. But see, the thing is, I must confess, and that confession is this: when I do my writings and they deal with outer space travel, that's totally imagination. Totally imagination. I mean, what else could it be? The things that we say, things that we don't know about. It's the imagination. And the thing is, when I study the scholar, scientist, Albert Einstein, he makes a statement about the imagination. I can't go into his deep talk, but I know he referenced the imagination of man, how we can use our imagination, and we can go anywhere in our minds, but we cannot go anywhere with our bodies. Basically, we can't go anywhere with our bodies basically because of physics, but in our minds we can go anywhere. And I think that when Einstein spoke of imagination, I think that's what he meant. We could think about going to the moon. We could think about Mars, think about the other universe, and think about all these things. These things can exist in our heads. We can do that. But see, one thing that I believe that whatever we can think in our minds, whether it be an Arabian, a Jew, a Frenchman, an African, a South American, or whatever that can be conceived, this is my belief. My belief is that anything that can be conceived in the mind exists. but it does not exist in the reality where we are. You know, I can imagine a five-headed monster with 20 legs. I can imagine a half dog, half man, half cat, half eagle. I can do anything in concept in my mind. I can see all kind of different things in my mind. But my belief is this, that whatever that we can see in our minds, whether it be me, you, or anyone, that whatever that any of us can conceive, it is my belief that this thing exists, but it does not exist in our universe. You know, when we look up in the sky at night and see all those stars, and God has given us the knowledge, He lets us know that there are millions and trillions of stars up there. So my belief is that if there are millions and trillions of stars that exist way, way up there, then those things that exist, those millions and trillions of concepts that evolve in the mind exist. But they do not necessarily exist in our universe, in our tangible reality. It's the concept. The concept makes it real, but it is not real in every instant or in every universe. We have multiple universes. We have infinite universes. Since I can conceive of infinite, I can't really conceive it, but I can think. I can't conceive of infinite. Look, what does this skull of mine compared to the earth? I can't conceive all the realities, but I can conceive infinite realities. Infinitive is relative. Infinitive exists in infinitive. So, when you read my books on outer space travel, my books on, I indulge in a lot of imaginative writing, but my belief is that it is only imagination. But if it exists in my imagination, it does exist. If it exists in your imagination, it does exist. Now, yes, if you go to my readings, especially I have a whole ebook series, and I deal with these outer space travelers, people going to, human beings going to other planets and other universes, but that's imagination. But it is not our reality. It is imagination. So now, what is this preface? What is this introduction about? The introduction is about where I stand on outer space travel. Outer space travel, when I say outer space travel, I'm talking about more than going, 100 miles above, out of the Earth's atmosphere, like the satellites the man-made satellites that go out and they orbit the Earth. And some of them they continue to go out into infinity. They continue to go out into infinity. Man makes these machines. But even though we make these machines, and these machines send messages back to us about the rest of the universe, it is my belief that mankind, us, you, me, human beings, this thing that exists, this physical human being, this human being that we are, we will not go to the moon. We will not go to Mars, Mercury, or any other planet. The only planet that we know as human beings is this planet Earth. So I say, when you have, we have our planet Earth, there are so many things that we can do on planet Earth to make life better for all of us, humanity, all of mankind to exist. Yes, when you read, those of you who go to my books, especially ones on outer space travel, we know that's all imagination. But it's like a paradox. Now it's an imaginative thing that exists in the mind, but it does not exist in the universe where our physical bodies exist. So I think that when we read those stories, or those ancient stories of mankind, in those ancient stories of mankind, they talk of mankind trying to do this, or mankind trying to do that. You know, like mankind trying to build a house or a building that goes to heaven. And then eventually it crumbles to the ground. I think these fables that we get when we do our research in history about how man tries to build, he tries to build things to heaven, or other things that man tries to do, and then man is ultimately shown that all he is mankind. Okay, the coming and going of civilizations, the coming and going of conquering civilizations, the coming and going of this civilization and then another civilization taking over this civilization, or master and slave, all of this is part of our existence. When you read my books, those books that deal with outer space travel, we know that's totally imaginative. It is out of my mind. But again, I must say, when I write, what my belief is that everything that exists, every idea, every concept, everything that exists in the mind of any man, and when we take all of the men that exist on the planet, and we take all of the infinitives that exist in their minds, that's quite a lot of infinitives. But look, consider the infinitives up there in the sky. You know, all those stars. You know, we know that there are other galaxies. We know that there are other suns. We know that there are other planets. We know that there are other universes. We know that there are infinite universes. We know that it's an ongoing reality. An ongoing reality of eternal existence. So when we start talking about outer space, we can only talk from our imagination. And you know, you have those guys who write scientific, they write scientific stuff, science fiction, imaginative, creative writing. But let's come down to earth. That's all imagination. That's all things that exist in the mind. Man cannot settle. We, mankind, we of the earth, we cannot, will not, shall not venture, live, civilize on Mars, on the moon, on any planet. Let's look at the fables, the stories that men tell. You know, remember, okay, I'm being redundant because I mentioned this in another discussion. Okay, remember the flood, Noah's Ark, where God said man had committed so many wrongs that he had to destroy mankind, and only Noah and his family were survived when the floods came. Then we had there was something else happening in the world. These stories that mankind make up, where mankind was actually trying to build a building that was supposed to go all the way to heaven. These fables, these stories that civilizations make, where man tries to explain a reality. And that reality that he tries to explain, ultimately, the reality that he tries to explain is an unreality, is a fiction. Man will never, mankind, you, I, of the human species, of the human race, we will not settle on the moon. We will not build communities on the moon. We will not build communities on Mars. Because, see, Earth is our domain. And my imagination says that there is life on Mars. There is life on Jupiter. There is life on all of those planets that we know of, Mercury. That's my belief. But that life is the life which is peculiar to Pluto. That life is the life which is peculiar to Uranus. That life is peculiar to Venus. Of all those planets that we know, that God allows us to know that there are planets, there are other universes that exist in this ultra reality of things. But man's domain is Earth. And only on Earth will mankind be maintained. So try to go to Mars. Go to Mars. Go to Mercury. But what does God do? Look at what he does, okay? At this very moment, man has the capability of destroying himself. We all know that nuclear power, self-destruction. So go try to make it to Mars. Remember Noah's Ark? These human beings were destroyed by water. And somewhere down the line, it was somewhere, I don't know where it came from, but I'm sure it was biblical. After the flood, then the prophecy, as I understood it, was the fire next time. Mankind, he goes to a point. Okay, now that's what we're talking about. My theory of predestination. I'm exploring that theory, and the thing is, I maybe within the next 2 or 3 years, I will probably write a book on that theory only. But mankind will never go to land on the moon, because our domain is Earth. So since our domain is Earth, and this is the reality of it, why don't mankind concentrate and spend his energies on making Earth better? Now, you had these men that God sent, be placed on this earth. I'm sure there were many, many men that God, special men. But my culture, the culture of which I am derived from, my culture taught me about the prophet of Jesus Christ. And so what happens is, I'm sure there were many other prophets that went amongst people. I'm sure you have the religions of Hindu, the religions of Buddhism, Islam, Muhammad. There are many religions. And I would assume that every religion has a major prophet. And that prophet said what mankind can do and how mankind should understand that we are involved in. I have to go to Jesus Christ. He gave man a way where mankind could make this earth a better place. Jesus Christ, his message was the message of love. The message of love. And I think that it love the earth. Love that little cat, that little kitten. Cruelty. There should be no cruelty to animals. You don't abuse a dog. You don't abuse a cat. You don't abuse a tree. We're talking love. So what mankind has to realize is that our domain is this earth and everything that's on this earth. How do we make this earth better? No. The imagination can go anywhere. It can go to Timbuktu or Choo Choo Choo. But this body, this physical entity that God puts us in, it's limited, it's finite. So, yes, read my books. I have many books on outer space travel. But that is imaginative. That is the imagination. But even though it's imagination, in this reality where we exist, in the reality where we exist, even though it's imagination. My belief is that it is real. It is real. That is in the mind. We call it imagination, and we call it fiction. It's fiction in this universe. But if it exists in the mind, it does exist, but not in this reality. There are infinite realities. There are millions, trillions, quadrillions realities. And in those realities, that which exists in the mind, that which is imaginative, that which is unreal, is real. It's real, but it's not real in our universe. You should read my books. You should read my books, and you would make me a very wealthy man. I would talk to you more about my two theories. And as I had indicated in a previous broadcast, I love to work on projects. I'm working on two projects. I'm working on a movie. I'm working on a movie, adults only. And believe it or not, this movie that I'm working on deals with outer space travel, though it is a fiction. So, this is Musa, Matt Meacham Jr., signing out on the earth